Hello, and welcome to another episode of Manifesting with Feng Shui. I am so glad you are here. And surprise, season 8 has actually been extended by divine intervention, which is so cool. And I'm just so excited because I am here in New York City to interview 3 incredible people who are literally like, well, I actually have to be honest, the 3 people who I'm interviewing this season for this extension in New York City, each one of these people are so dear to my heart. They've all been on the show at some point. It's just not in real life. So finally, we are here in real life, in the studio in New York City. And each of these individuals that are here are going to help you to really navigate the year of the horse, really make it the very best year possible. And of course, I kind of jokingly say, I feel like sometimes I need to change the show name. Instead of being Manifesting with Feng Shui, maybe it needs to be Manifesting with Astrology, because I love astrology. I love my astrologers. And actually here today is one of my all-time favorite astrologers, Ophira Edut. And Ophira, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
So good to be together.
Together.
Thank you.
You've been on the show several times, I think.
I know. I have. I think I was one of your first guests when you started.
I know.
In fact, I think I advised on the microphone you got for your first podcast. Remember?
You did, because we did a collaboration, a feng shui collaboration back in the day for the home reset. And when we were recording together, you told me what mic to get.
That's right. I probably didn't even know very well myself. And look at you now. I love it.
Well, you've been such an incredible mentor and friend to me. And I think because we're talking about the year of the horse right now, we're going to get a little bit into the Chinese zodiac and, of course, obviously astrology. But, Ophira and I are both rats, according to the Chinese zodiac. And you are a water rat. I'm a wood rat.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So, and rat, even though here in New York City, where rats thrive, there's more rats than people. But we are the first sign of the lunar zodiac. So, we're resourceful, and here we are.
I know. That's what I like to tell people. I'm like, rats are actually very clean and very organized, by the way. And we're intelligent because the whole story behind there's a whole fable around the Chinese zodiac. And in the Chinese zodiac, the rat jumped on the ox's head so he could be first in the race.
Yeah, to meet the emperor, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So we were just, using our...
He rode on the ox's back, and then when they got up to the front of the line, he jumped over the ox to be first. And that's why rat is the first sign of the Chinese zodiac. And, that's how I'm not saying we cut corners, but we know how to get ourselves ahead. We know how to be resourceful. And did you know that a group of rats is called a mischief?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Fun fact.
Well, we're mischief.
Got lots of them.
You have so many. We just actually had dinner last night. It was so amazing. And, what I can say about you is you're a pioneer in so many different ways. You're always forward thinking. In fact, okay, I want to do a proper introduction of Ophi because, you bring so much. You bring so much to this conversation and to the listeners. And I want the listeners to know that today, we are getting into the year of the horse, everything you need to know. And what I've learned about any conversation I ever have with you, Ophi, is just that you always help me to understand myself in a deeper way and understand my human experience in a better way. Good. And so I feel like when you talk about astrology and you're also dipping your toe into human design, and you guys, we are going to get into human design today. You have no idea. You have a human design birthday. So maybe you didn't know that, but I happen to I'm like a Cancer in human design. I have no Cancer in my chart, but I'm a Cancer in human design. There's also a huge, and I'm not going to give it all away, but a huge thing is happening in 2027. We're ending a 400 plus year cycle, heading into a new one. We need to talk about how our whole entire how we're shifting as an entire collective. I mean, so much is happening in the stars and in the sky. And to top it off, we are officially now in the year of the horse, not at the time of this recording, but when this comes out, we will be officially in the year of the horse. And, of course, I talk about it a lot from the feng shui perspective, but in your 2026 astrology horoscope book, you actually go into the year of the horse and looking at it also from an astrology lens. So listeners, I just want my community to know I love you being here. And I want you to know that at the end of this episode today, you're going to walk away with practical, tangible understanding of what you can do to optimize the year of the horse in 2026. And of course, so much more.
Yeah.
Okay, so proper introduction. I'm going to do my best here. So Ophira and her sister Tali, also known as the AstroTwins, have been astrologers for ELLE Magazine for how many years, Ophi?
17 in early 2000. In early 26.
For 17 years, the official astrologers of ELLE Magazine. They've read charts for people like Beyoncé, Robert Pattinson, which, by the way, I'm going to have her tell you a little story about that because I admitted to my community not too long ago, I came out of the Twilight closet. Like no one knew I was a huge twihard, but surprise.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was a late blooming twihard too.
I was too.
So she read Robert Pattinson's chart. You and your sister were recently on Sibling Rivalry podcast with Kate Hudson.
Mm-hmm. Kate and Oliver. And then did a reading for Goldie.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. We just turned 80, which I don't even know what to do with that.
She's an icon.
She's so awesome. Oh my God.
Well, as you know, I work in public education and she's done a Mind Up curriculum, which is really great for
so
kids.
Glad you know about that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm an SEL coordinator, social emotional learning coordinator for a school district. So it's all about bringing mindfulness into classrooms for students and for adults.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that one offline.
I know, right? Yeah. But I just wanted to say, Kate Hudson, I'm just like, when I saw you with Kate Hudson, one of my favorite movies is How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
I love that movie.
And, I typically record the podcast in Austin, Texas, and all I can think about when I'm there is Matthew McConaughey.
Right.
So I just made that connection. I'm just like, oh, that's so amazing. But one more thing about you before we talk about Robert Pattinson, because she has to tell this story before we dive into all other things. Ophi has written over 20 books, so 23 books, and one of those books in particular is a national bestseller. It's The Astrology Advantage, one of your newer books as well.
Yep.
Is that the one with the I Am theory?
Yeah.
Congratulations on the national best-selling book. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
It's a formula that you've created. And this is why, when I talk about Ophi being a pioneer and obviously the rat being that first sign of the zodiac, you always are coming up with different methods to help us understand ourselves better.
Systems. To me, astrology is a tool, not a rule. So I love to geek out on the astro stuff, but I also really like to turn it into the equivalent of a modern personality test, where you can just immediately, you're like, okay, that was really interesting. I forgot 98% of it, but I remember this one thing and I can go out into my life and use it. So it takes a lot of work to craft it to that point, but it's making astrology useful doesn't sound that sexy, but it's, I think, what I like to do best.
Well, I appreciate you. I've had private readings with you every single time. I walk away with so much, but then it always changes my life.
That's what it's supposed to do.
It does. It does. Okay. So just for fun, can you please tell me, I actually, this kind of brings me back to one of my private readings with you. I was talking to you about, I don't know why I told you, I was like, I'm really getting into Twilight lately. And I was, full transparency. I feel like part of the reason why this whole New York City trip happened in the first place is because in November 2024, Uranus has shifted into my North Node, and I'm going through what some might call a midlife awakening, potentially a midlife crisis. I'm in the middle of it, so I can't confirm if that's what it is exactly, but it kind of feels like it.
Every crisis is an awakening.
It feels like I've just been in this space of just questioning everything and just trying to more deeply understand myself. And so, I don't know, I started watching Twilight, that was a couple years ago. And you were like, oh, Twilight, you're a Venus and Scorpio. That makes so much sense. And then you were like, I actually read Robert's chart. Tell me about that.
So I love it. And I actually want to make a plug for normalizing awakenings and crises for all of us, because stagnancy is not where we're going in this world, and definitely not in the year of the horse. But so when my very first book Astro Style, my first astrology book, came out, I got called on to be on Sirius Radio, the host of the LGBTQ morning radio show. It was just a satellite radio then with like only truckers could listen to it. So he had a show. He loved astrology. Larry Flick, he had us on. We used to give like love advice to gay truckers. We even made a few love matches. It was awesome. But he had celebrity guests that would come. It was so much fun that we started coming in monthly and doing readings and call-in, and there'd be a celeb sometimes would be a guest, and Robert Pattinson was. So he'd be like, oh, we're going to start the astrology in 15 minutes. This guy, he was in a movie with Reese Witherspoon called Vanity Fair. Robert Pattinson, you probably would know him, but maybe not. And he was like really adorable and like nervous and like pale but cute. And so we started chatting with him about astrology too, and like him being a Taurus. And he was like, do you think my movie's going to do okay? It was about to be, come out. And I was like, well, Jupiter is going through the top of your chart. I think it's going to be really good. And then a week later I was in LA, and I get out of the plane at LAX, and I see a huge Twilight billboard. And I was like, okay, I guess it's on. And then, yeah, but he was a sweetheart. I have to say, every celebrity that I've read for mostly has been really nice.
I know.
Beyoncé, Stevie Wonder, Sting. We shared an orange and talked about quantum physics. He brought it up. So I've had some like kind of fun, mind-blowing experiences.
I love Sting. He's a Libra too.
He's a Libra too. Very, very
just like
kind.
me. By the way, we haven't even talked about our signs, but I feel like we should at least introduce ourselves in some like astro talk real quick, because people who are tuning in probably are like, so do you want to like tell us all your big three and all the things?
I'm a Sagittarius, but I have Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars in Scorpio, and a Capricorn rising. So I didn't know what any of that meant until my college boyfriend got me a chart as a gift at age 21. I just knew I was a Sag. And when I saw all of that, I was like, this, and unread what it meant, I was like, this explains so much, because I have this very internal, obsessive, puzzle-making side that I never read about in association with Sagittarius. And I was like, oh, that's Scorpio. That's what that is. So
that Scorpio moon, like the way that you were just, it's the mind, right? Like, is that what the moon represents?
Like this, it's like, the moon is like the inner self and how you emotionally respond to the world and people and experiences. So the sun is kind of like what people see a lot of the times, like not always. The rising sun is really what people see, how you first present, the first impression. The sun is who you are at your core, but the moon is what people often don't see. And it comes out when pressure is applied, or you have to emotionally respond to something. So,
okay. So you have, I will share mine as well, which again, after having a reading with you and like really learning about astrology, I mean, also fun fact, I first met you through when I took Marie Forleo's B School. I was an astropreneur, and I was in, you and Tali had this astropreneur school, and I learned a lot about my chart that way. And it was very eye-opening. I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart.
You do
but
too.
Not in my big three. So I'm a Libra sun, I'm a Aries moon, and a North Node and Taurus rising and North Node Taurus. So lots of Taurus stuff happening.
Yeah. So, Libra and Aries are opposite signs, which means that you were born on a full moon. If your sun and moon are the same sign, you're born at a new moon, opposite full moon. So while your essential self is this balanced, harmonious Libra, which makes sense with what you do, bringing balance to spaces. On the inside, when push comes to shove, that fiery Aries is like ready to just go. But on the outside, the Taurus is also very composed. Taurus and Libra are both ruled by Venus. So you have the composed, beauty-loving, aesthetic. I mean, I just think the way you design your home and your spaces is so beautiful and so great and natural to you. But you've got that fiery Aries on the inside, and you've got your Venus and Scorpio. So a lot of people are now familiar with IFS, internal family systems, parts work, and I think the chart is similar to that. parts of you are composed and Venus-y and polite, but then other parts of you are like fiery and ready to go. And they don't always flow together naturally. So that's why I said normalize a crisis, because what that really means is you're not trying to make yourself into a one-dimensional person. You're really embracing all the contrasting parts of yourself and how they kind of butt up against each other, and like the adventure of like, how do I let them all have a seat at the table? So
yeah, I mean, actually, and I'm not going to derail us to talk about numerology, but it all speaks and they all talk to each other. And,
they do,
you know, I'm a 4 life path, but then I have a 5 expression, which is kind of similar to what you're saying. It's like I desire stability and tradition and like all of those things I value. But then also the 5 expression is like, but I need adventure. I need to fly to New York City and interview 3 people over the weekend.
Yeah. And you can think of it as like your life is a movie. I mean, we now have our Become Your Own Astrologer mastermind that we do once a year, starting in February. Usually we're doing our 3rd year, where it's an 8-week birth chart mastery course. And then there's an additional 8 weeks where you can learn about transits and compatibility and all the advanced predictive stuff. So we use the metaphor of a movie. Your birth chart is the movie of your life. It's a script to the movie of your life. The planets are the actors. The zodiac signs are in are the costumes they're wearing. The houses are the sets where the movie takes place. And all the aspects, the angles in between them are like the dialogue and the scenes between the characters. So you have to think, which characters should be brought out for this scene? So the real astroflex is when you know your chart so well that you can direct the actors a little bit more. Like, what does the Aries want? No blue M&Ms in their trailer or whatever. You know, it's just like, what does the Aries moon need and want to function at its best? Like, once you that's what I know. My Scorpio moon wants privacy. My Sag sun wants adventure. My Capricorn rising wants order and systems. And they can't always all have that all at once.
Oh, I love
that. It's like raising
that.
a bunch of kids.
All these different aspects of ourselves. And I just love that, though, because you're just acknowledging, like, we are multifaceted human beings and creatures. And I mean, we're spirits having human experiences and all of this. Like, we signed up for this, you know, we wanted to have all of the experiences, experience all the feelings from grief and sadness and fear, all the way to love and letting in all the joy and everything too. So it's kind of just this whole, the more we can accept that we are just multifaceted and there's all these things are all just, we can't fight it. It's just going to be part of this experience. I think the better.
And here's why I think astrology and these systems really help with that. Because I guess we want to experience those emotions, but without kind of astrology, etc., feng shui to create any of these systems, create a little bit of a buffer so that like when those feelings that are a lot to process come up, they don't totally flood us and take us out of the game. Because you know, the average adult makes over 38,000 decisions a day. So we can't afford to be knocked over by joy, grief, anger, this. We need to like manage that. We need a processing, like a mail room to sort it. I really sound like a Capricorn rising now. But if we don't have that, then we can't fully experience that. So the more I understand my chart, and now that's why human design has become so fascinating to me, it's like, oh, a new layer for me to process these things so that I can live this rich life without getting knocked off my game.
Ooh, I love that so much. Okay, so you brought up human design. I think we need to shift into that. I think it's really important because yesterday we were at dinner and Ophi has her iPad out and she's showing me like this cross, okay? And I really want to emphasize how transformational this realization is for me right now. That, I mean, you told me a few months ago during a private reading that I had a human design birthday, and I want all the listeners who are here today to know that they have a human design birthday as well. And could you explain like what the significance of that is? And is that cross I know you're working on a project right now, and is that a really big part of the work that you're sharing?
Yeah. Okay. So human design is like astrology on steroids. So the core of it actually is your astrological chart, but then it's it's like a lasagna, okay? The astrology is the noodles, but it has all these layers. One is the I Ching, which is this 3,000-year-old Chinese divination system that has 64 hexagrams. That's a stack of 6 lines that are broken or unbroken, representing yin and yang. And each of them has this sort of philosophical meaning. It's almost like a riddle. So that's layered on the astrological wheel and then mapped onto this weird 1970s science textbook looking figure of a person with 9 chakras, all connected by these lines, these channels are called, that's supposed to represent the Kabbalah tree of life. It's like, just explaining that, you probably want to take a nap now, you know? So it has become, so it was downloaded by this man who changed his name from Alan something or the other to Ra Uruhu. And I've had a few jokes about that before. I got it just like Ra Uruhu. Oh, please, you know, eye roll. But no, the guy obviously was like channeling something. Yeah. Sorry, Ra. But, yeah, so he downloaded the system, and it's so it just pissed me off for about a decade because people would talk about it, and I'd just see this body graph, it's called, and be like, what are all those numbers on it? What the hell does this mean? Okay, I learned I was a generator. There's 5 types, but no one can make sense of it. And just this spring, I was introduced to a view of it. There's a view of the human design chart that shows, it's called the Rave Mandala, and it shows the astrological wheel and the I Ching hexagrams. I call it a double crust pizza because that's what it looks like, layered around the body graph. And I was like, now I can see where the astrology comes in. So I started as I learned to create a course, which I just opened up. It's at humandesignforastrologers.com, because I feel like a lot of astrology people want to understand human design, but this allows us to come into it from what we already are looking at, our birth charts, and then piece it together. So it's still really complicated to explain, but essentially you have your birth chart, and then you have what's like a pre-birth chart. So about 3 months before you were born, or 88 degrees back on a chart, is a day that your soul was kind of born. It's kind of like the 3rd trimester.
Could we tell listeners that their human design birthday is 88 days before?
88 solar degrees is a type of chart called a solar arc. It's about 90 because the sun moves 1 degree a day.
Because you told me mine's July 9th, right?
Yeah.
But you figured it out. Did you have like a graph that you were looking at?
I use a website called mybodygraph.com, and it'll do it. It'll show
tell you.
Yeah, you can do a free chart. And yeah, so it told me that yours
I just
was that
didn't
day.
know that was a thing. And you kind of described it as like that was the day like your soul incarnated, essentially. Yeah. That's what they believe, essentially. And so then what you were showing me yesterday at dinner was so fascinating because you were showing how, you know, I'm a Libra sun, so that is connected to certain gates.
Yep. So the 64 I Ching hexagrams, those philosophical riddles. So if you take the 12 zodiac signs in one ring, and I show this in the course, you really need a visual to understand it. But if you layer the 64 gates around that and subdivide, so you've got like, let's just say you've got one slice of pizza, and the crust is all the 30 degrees of Libra of the circle. Within that, there's a second crust on the outside that has about 5.3 of the I Ching hexagrams, because you have 64 divided by 12, you know, is 5.3333. I sound like a nerdy human calculator, but that's what I am. So the degree of Libra that you were born in, that you can see on your chart, will line up with one of those gates, and that will be the combination that you have in human design. So I was born at 10 degrees of Sagittarius, and that lines up with hexagram or gate 9, which is the gate of focus. And what I learned, I was like, that's like my entire life. It's about focus. Like my sister and I were always like, I just need to focus. I can't focus, 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 focus. I was like, I've been saying that word so much, and it turns out it's my gate. So, but in those two charts, you have what I'm calling your big four. You have the sun in Libra on your birth chart. And then the 3 months before, the sun was in Cancer. So it's Libra, Cancer, Aries, and Capricorn are the cardinal signs. So it's always going to be the cardinal sign before if you're a cardinal sign. I'm a mutable sign, Sagittarius. So I go back one mutable sign. My human design birthday is September 5th. It's Virgo. So,
well, it's
very technical. So I don't know.
It is, but I just want to reflect back to everyone maybe you're listening, maybe you're watching right now. Like as an observer, it's just so fascinating to me because I'm watching you, Ophi, ultimately channel this information, download this data, because it is data that you've compiled to help people ultimately understand themselves better. Because what I'm hearing you say, and even just for me, when I looked and saw okay, I'm a Libra and this connects to this gate, and you just said that example, it's it just unlocks another deeper level of personal understanding of your purpose, what you came here to do, how you came here to operate in order to fill your highest life purpose. And then also in a way that when you tap into your greatest assets and your strengths, then it feels easier, but it's not necessarily the things that you're doing that are easy for you aren't easy for everyone else. Right. And so isn't this the point? We want to really lean into what we came here, our soul's longing to do. Exactly. And then also really optimize those natural strengths that we have.
So I recommend anyone who wants to start to go to this layer of human design beyond just the type and the authority and that kind of thing, which is enough to, I'm a sacral generator. So, but that was about where I left it off for a while. But when I found those gates, so you have your design, that's called your personality sun, that's your Libra, and your design sun. But you also have what's called an earth sign. So there's no rising sign in human design. There's an earth sign, and that's going to be the opposite sign of your sun. So that's Aries is the opposite of Libra, and then Capricorn is the opposite of Cancer. So that's what creates that cross. It's called an incarnation cross. So when you find those four numbers, they kind of crack open the mystery of your life. My sun is focus, but then my design sun is confusion. And then my earth is skills and my design earth is doubt. And I had to really take that riddle apart and realize I have to find the things that people are confused about and unconfuse them. So I'm not really channeling this. There's no channeling happening. I'm doing the opposite of channeling. I'm taking something someone channeled, removing the confusion from it, and then removing doubt, because I can teach people exactly how it's engineered who want to know that they can use it. So I'd love to be some kind of channeling mystic, but I'm not. I'm just a nerd.
You are, okay, so what I observed, let me reframe that. What I just observed was just your brain really going through the data, literally a computer.
The Scorpio in there, yeah.
Yes, and it's just very fascinating to see you work and to see how your brain works, and then how you also can bring it to us and the practical.
Well, it's going to be I really invite anyone who's intrigued, but I don't know what the hell she's talking about, but I really want to come to humandesignforastrologers.com and do the class, because it's very visually laid out. So I show you one piece by piece.
Oh, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. So I'm really excited about that. Especially, like I said, I have no Cancer in my chart. So the fact that I have this Cancer energy as my human design birthday, I think is really fascinating. Okay. Before we kind of shift into the year of the horse, because I definitely want to talk about the year of the horse
covered. Yes.
Especially, by the way, so like I said, Ophi and I are rats. And I was doing my own research, because every year I do a program called Welcome to Wealth to celebrate the Lunar New Year. And as I was doing research for it, I kept stumbling upon all this information saying if you're a rat, be careful. There's going to be a lot of misfortune. It's the opposite of the horse.
Let's debunk the superstition piece, because it's a very superstitious system.
Yeah. So I want to get into that. And also, I'm a love-based practitioner, and I always want people to leave feeling better, more inspired, more empowered than they were before they listened to the episode. And so that's what like my intention is to like really set you up for the year of the horse. And having Ophi here is just such an honor, and she's going to bring it to light in her own aspect. But before we do that, like you said something at dinner last night that like totally rocked my world. And I'm like, we have to at least bring this up to listeners in regard to human design. You said that we are shifting from a 400 plus year cycle and into a new cycle in 2027. What is this about? How do we prepare?
So everything in astrology is like this clock or compass ticking. And so the cross you talked about, the incarnation cross, the 4 points, your 2 suns, your 2 earths. So there's also a global incarnation cross. Just like in numerology, we have a universal year by adding up all the digits of 2026 that brings us to a 1 year. So the global cross, it's basically the 25,000 year precession of the equinoxes divided by the 64 I Ching gates. Can you tell I accept nothing at face value. My job with human design is like, why? Because no one ever tells you why. So 25,000-ish divided by 64 is about 400 years. So every 400 years, the global big 4 shifts to 4 new gates. And those are the gates that have been and all of those gates, by the way, map onto a different energy chakra or center on the body. So those parts, we've been in sacral and the heart and the solar plexus, and then it's different. Anyway, it without going too deeply into it, we've been in what's called the cross of planning, and so by the end, so it brings a new wave of possibilities into the world. Cross of planning was focus, skills, and friendship and aloneness. So it's been about like nations and families, and this is mine, this is yours, this is our country. It's like systems and institutions that were formed, but after 400 years, when you get to the end of it, the shadow of that starts to show up, and things start to break down. So, while we may have all this modern technology, as we can see in the world and politics, like for the last few years, it's all kind of falling apart. Like people are really like hoarding stuff. Only the 1%, like what was created so that we could have our modern civilization, is now like being hoarded by the 1%, the data centers and people. So it's the end of that cycle on February 15th, 2027. And we go into what's called the cross of the sleeping phoenix. And the idea of that is what we're already starting to see, which is like people forming communities, family, friendship, relationships that don't require you to like pledge allegiance to this tribal kind of mentality. Like, I believe this and I belong to this church or this government or this. More about like, I'm me, you're you, we're coming together for a shared purpose, but we're not merging into one. We're not shutting down parts of who we are so that we can belong. And so you see all the, the kind of iOS update that humanity is in the middle of is really a sign of like how we're kind of like preparing for this new energy while still in the old one. And it's sort of a system breakdown.
Yeah. And I think I'm kind of feeling that on an individual level as well.
Everyone is. Yeah.
So you're just kind of questioning like, wait, I'm doing this because I've been told this is just how you have to do everything. But it's like, but who made up these rules?
I mean, when Twilight came out, it was 2010. I know because my daughter was just born, and I was like, the long hours of like having an infant were made much easier by getting to read vampire fan fiction. But it was just even then I was like, ooh, I want a guy like that who falls in love with me and who's might kill me by biting my neck. And I was like, now we're just like, oh, like.
Oh my God, I just love that you brought Twilight back up. Thank you for that. What's also, we're heading into this new 400-year cycle, essentially. So like the rest of our lives, we're going to be seeing, and we're at the very early phases of this. But so interesting because what you just described, really reminds me of how we exited, how Pluto was in Capricorn and now Pluto is in Aquarius. I feel like it's almost very similar to that transition.
It absolutely is. It's that age of Aquarius. So, yeah.
So people want to be like in community more. People want to like heal in community, retreats, in-person retreats, things like that. All of that will maybe see more of that. Masterminds, learning in communities.
New ways of living together, like people not opting not to get married or even live with their spouses. Like all the rules, all the bets are up, you know, like you can see this like hyper focus on traditionalism, like the trad wife thing. It's like this last gasp to fight for this, but it's like it's because people feel it's slipping away that they're fighting so hard. But you know,
it's going to be interesting just to see how it all unfolds. And it doesn't necessarily mean mass chaos. And I think that's the thing that people are afraid of.
It doesn't necessarily not mean mass chaos either, but yeah, you know.
Well, it actually also reminds me though of the divine feminine way of leading, which is like the old earth when there was a lot more feminine leadership. You know, feminine leadership is different than the masculine. And I'm not saying it gender necessarily related, but like living in communities and like just like everyone has a different role and it's not a hierarchy is what I'm trying to say.
That's a good example. I think it's going to be closer to that, but it's not really that either. Okay. It's like, it's not, Aquarius is very androgynous. It's not masculine or feminine at all. So it's actually something new that we haven't experienced before. Ooh. That is like more like humanity coming together, like whether you were born into a male or a female, you know, biological body almost doesn't matter as much as like what's the mission that you're here. So I mean, it's going to take 400 years. Like we may not see much, we'll see some of it, but we'll be like the pioneers.
Well, I'm excited, and I feel like we can already feel the shift, and I'm really excited to take your human design class, learn more about myself, and then just like really, I mean, more and more people are interested in all the things, human design, numerology, feng shui. You know, that's why I bring all these different methodologies together because I just see how they all talk to each other.
Yeah,
they
people
all
think
connect.
that human design is something that has nothing to do with those, but it's everything to do with it. Like I was telling my naturopath about it. She's like, oh, that sounds like Chinese medicine. I was like, yes, it's chakras. It's I Ching. It actually is, it's much closer to the ancient stuff, but it's packaged in a really cool kind of quantum way. I feel like it's going to be one of the languages and tools of the age of Aquarius. And if I did channel anything, it was like this deep knowing that I was like, now is the time that I really need to sort this out. Because I think I'm going to have to teach people how to use it in a practical way.
In a practical way. Yeah, that's what you do best.
It's embodied astrology. The zodiac sign is the planets going through the gates and being mapped into different body areas. You can locate. Like now I know, not the gate of focus, it's also in the sacral center for me. So that's an important area of my energy and my body to pay attention to versus like astrology, which is just up in the thought and the psychological. Like we can't just be in our heads anymore. We have to like understand it through our bodies, especially because we're going to be fighting with machines and AI and robots. Like we're going to have to be more human than ever.
Wow. I really feel like that is like, I'm feeling that on a personal level, like needing to be more in my body. Oh my gosh. Okay. So good. All right. Well, I really wanted to get into the year of the horse. I wanted to make sure we leave listeners. It's 111 this right now. 111. I just want to say that.
Of course it is.
Because I love angel numbers. Talking about the year of the horse, I mean, this is a pretty drastic shift because we're shifting from we were in 2 years of wood element. Now we're heading into the fire element for 2 years. So at the time of this recording, we're still in the wood element, but like by the time this gets, out to the world, we're going to be in the fire energy, which is going to feel very different. And then also that snake energy has such a different energy and tone than the horse. So I would love to hear your take on it. And also before you kind of get into all of it, can you also remind me what zodiac sign the horse connects to? Because Gemini. I think that's really interesting how you've connected all of the zodiacs to the Chinese zodiacs to the, the other,
the Western astrology. I mean, it is. It's, again, that was a reverse engineering. So what I learned is that it's going to be a 1 year next year numerology, and it's very much like the horse galloping forward. So the lunar year is not based on the moon. It's only based on the moon because it starts at what should be the second new moon of a calendar year. It starts at the Aquarius new moon every year. And that's what makes it the Lunar New Year. But the Chinese or lunar zodiac is based on Jupiter. Jupiter's 11.8 year cycle through the zodiac signs. So every year-ish, it goes through one. There's a few years that it goes like through, even through 3 of them. Actually, in 1966, the last Fire Horse year, it went through Gemini, Cancer, and Leo in that year. But typically, wherever Jupiter is in that year, it's usually between 2 signs, is the Western zodiac sign that's connected to the Eastern zodiac sign. So the horse typically happens when Jupiter is in Gemini or Cancer. So it's aligned with Gemini. The rat happens when Jupiter is in Sagittarius and Capricorn. So that's why they would say that the rat is going to have a hard year with the horse because they're opposite signs. So that's a very simplistic explanation. It's like when a sign is opposite yours, it's farthest distance from yours. So you're forced to look at yourself. But you also have the distance of perspective. So I actually think it can be a great opportunity. It's like, again, if you know what you're going into, it doesn't have to be a hard year. And the people who usually have the hardest time with the new lunar zodiac year are the ones that are that sign who are not ready to make a fresh start. So, because if you're a horse, it's the beginning of a new 12-year life cycle when we have a horse year start. So you're probably like going along, doing what you're doing. You're ready for a new 12-year cycle, but if you are afraid of change, and again, that's why I said normalize crises and changes. Like what we call a crisis is an opportunity for something new. Luckily, horses have an easier time, but the year of the snake was associated with Venus and Taurus. So it was and the year of the horse is Gemini and Mercury. So it's going to be a chatty, if you're born in 1966 or early 1967, you were born during the year of the Fire Horse, because there are each 2 years of a decade has a different element. So 0 and 1 years are metal, 2 and 3 are water, 4 and 5 are wood, 6 and 7 are fire, 8 and 9 are earth. So you've got 5 elements, 12 signs. 5 times 12 is 60. So on your 60th birthday, you kind of have your first Chinese New Year birthday.
I love that. Yeah. So I was born in 84. So that makes me a wood element because it's the 4.
It's 4. Yeah.
Ends in the, yes. And then I won't have the next time it'll be the year of the wood rat is when I'm 60 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's always so interesting to me. So, so Gemini, does that, okay, this might maybe, I don't know if you talked about this or you've thought about this, but like if you have Gemini in your chart, which I actually don't have any Gemini in my chart, but if I had Gemini in any of the planets, do you think that would impact someone?
Not really, because I mean, Jupiter's in Cancer already now. So it's not an exact science there. It's not 1-to-1 because we're using the solar Gregorian calendar based on the sun's movement. But this zodiac is the lunisolar calendar, which is the moon and the sun, where the month begins at a new moon versus in this arbitrary way that we have. So with the sun solar calendar. So it's a whole other system. It's the world's, it's the world's most used calendar, the Hebrew calendar, the Hindu and Jain, most of them use the lunisolar calendar, but it's different.
Okay. So when it comes to the year of the Fire Horse, and obviously it's yang energy versus the yin snake.
Right.
What do you think? If you could give any kind of advice for anybody moving into this, like you mentioned new beginnings, you mentioned like starting fresh. It's a one universal year according to numerology.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I show the book?
So yes, please show the book. Of course.
Let me do that. So So this is it's all in here, the 2026 horoscope book, but we have the horse on a matchbox on the cover. So, and a whole section about that. So the theme of this year, what we do every year is we take a theme. This is our 15th year writing this book, and we take it and we look at all the influences. So we name this year 2026 the year of the unbridled spirit. So the unbridled spirit is like unleashing. 2025 we call the year of the divine pendulum, where the pendulum started in one place, swung to another, and then swung back based on the planets. But this is the year is like, it's go time, it's unleashed, it's unbridled, it's like forward. We got a sneak preview, but the second half of the decade is very different than the first half. The first half was very yin, a lot of earth and water planets. The second half is very yang, like you said, fire and air. So it's like, here we go.
I know I'm already kind of tired thinking about it, but I'm also like, I feel like in some ways, like the year of the snake was so introspective in some ways, for me, at least personally. And I know a lot of people just, you're shedding skin, but it was a 9.
Yeah, the fact that it lined up with the 9, which is the end of the numerology cycle, and it's the shedding of skin. I mean, it was really nice on like a personal level, but hard. Like certain relationships fell away for a lot of people. Like it was outgrowing, shedding, very dysregulating for some people though, because even democracy didn't feel like it. It's like things that we're like expect to just be there were not. And
dysregulating is probably a good thing. And it's like kind of having to get comfortable being uncomfortable, really. And so the year of the horse, I don't necessarily know. Like, I think people are ready for movement and like to take action. I know my moon in Aries is ready for that. I get a little impatient. I'm born during a full moon, so I like to take action. But I'm really excited to like not only look at like more in depth of like your perspective of the year of the horse, but like the year of the horse from like the planetary movements and those big things that are all in your book. I get it every single year. You also have a planner that goes with it for each zodiac sign. Yeah. So I get my Libra planner, and then I like just kind of look and see like how I am being, basically, let me talk to the listeners. Like basically what you can do is you can see like how the moon actually like hits your personal chart, and like how each full moon and new moon like actually are going to impact you. And I just think taking astrology and like those bite size each month, looking at it piece by piece, I feel like that's like, at least for me, that's what helps me get through any year, whether it's yin or now heading into this yang energy. It just helps me like as we chunk each month, looking at like what's happening in the planets and like how can I kind of optimize some of the good stuff that's happening, and also just kind of like pause on some things depending on what's happening in
that's the whole idea,
the
like
planet.
When are the most opportune times? So will we maybe get a little whiplash when the horse goes galloping off? Like, hold on tight. Yes, you might not be ready. It may be abrupt, but there are things you can do to mitigate that. Like really, one of my clients, like I work with a lot of private clients in business, and one of them does stuff on the science of change. And she was telling me about some of the research that she works with about change is not only a mental thing, but you have to like physically prepare. Like, do you have the energetic capacity for change? So in the year of the horse, Gemini is very on the go. It's very mental. We're going to be processing a lot of information. Fire is very action. So exercising. And, I think also another reason to understand your human design, like which of the centers of your body are the ones that are the most active and which ones are not. So you can kind of strive to get some balance. Like, I don't have the capacity for that level of speed to keep up with stuff. So how can I develop it? Do I want to, or do I need to change my life in another way? So I'm not doing something that's so taxing.
Oh, I love that so much. Well, Ophi, thank you so much. We covered a lot today.
We sure did.
Thank you for entertaining my, need to hear a little bit about Robert Pattinson and Twilight. That was fun.
I mean, we can all use Robert Pattinson is probably like going to be the balm for our weary souls next year. So
for our weary souls, for sure. That's like it's like a comfort blanket. I typically will watch that on the plane or something like that. But I truly feel that because I've had several private readings with you, especially when, Uranus hit my North Node, and it's been a little bit of a confusing time and discombobulating in some ways because I'm living and you're living and we're alive.
Yeah.
And
it's a messy time. Embrace the messiness.
Yeah.
Like, stop trying to shove it neatly into the box. That box has been recycled. It's no longer there. There is no box, and just make a new one, or don't.
I know. After talking to you,
how about we don't even do that to ourselves?
Nothing has to think outside the box because there is no box anymore.
There is no box.
I just really appreciate you so much. And, like I said, I just feel like because of all of the work that we've done together, like I was summoned to New York City and we planned this in less than a week, you guys. It was so divine, so divinely timed.
It really did.
So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. I appreciate you. And listeners, viewers, if you're watching, I will see you next time where I'll help you design the life you deserve. See you soon.